actually probably finish the bulk of the core information about the ruler rollout about 30 minutes in or so, if you have, other dinner time things happening, just to give you a heads up. But it's really great to see everybody. I think we're slowly getting everybody in here. So I'm actually going to go ahead and get us started. Excuse me, we've got a presentation here that'll take you through what the ruler rollout has looked like for 1st through 8th grade. And obviously, I'm Luci Hoad. I'm the middle school division head, but I'll allow our other presenters to introduce themselves, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Lisa, you want to start?
Sure. I'm Lisa Jones. I'm the 1st through 5th grade division head, and it's so good to see so many parents here this evening. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, you might be muted, Mr. Patel.
Yes, I've got a lot of yelling in the background. So I'm Patel. I am the new-ish 1st through 8th grade school counselor. So I'm glad you guys can all make it.
All right, and I believe that Ms. Jones, you're going to kick us off. Excuse me, Mr. Patel, you're going to kick us off. So I'll go ahead and get your slides started for you.
Okay.
I'll mute so y'all don't hear my dogs.
Kids, dogs, whatever. Okay, so I'm so glad that you guys can all be here today. I think ruler is super important, and I think it's going to be amazing for our students at St. Paul's. 4 things we're going to talk about today are why emotions matter, the skills of emotional intelligence, the ruler tools, and then family practice. So kind of how we're doing it in school, and then moving on to how you can also assist at home. Oh, okay, emotions matter. Emotions and what we do with them influence attention, memory, and learning. You guys can read through this stuff, but I wanted to say that it's different across K through 8. It's going to look different. We're going to roll it out differently with the ages. And I say that because obviously the kindergarten and the 1st grade, 2nd grade, kind of lower school is going to learn this differently than the middle school. This is important because I feel like the way we teach the students needs to change depending on the moods, right? All sorts of stuff happens at home or in life or in school. And if we are in tune with what the student is feeling and the student is also in tune with that, we can change the way we teach the kids. Move on to the next slide, Ms. Hoad.
Yes, sorry about that, Mr. Patel. It was giving me a hard time. It's paused and I'm trying to unpause it. Give me just 1 second. I apologize. I'm leaving you here to vamp. Hang on 1 second.
No, so kind of the point of this is the state of mind is going to affect the way kids learn. As in like all of us. Anybody ever reel off an email when they're emotional? It comes up across a lot differently than if we were in the right state of mind in a sense of where we want to be. In my household, we want to be calm and I think what was the word? Calm, happy, included. So if I'm feeling furious, how do I get back to calm, happy, included? Before I write that email, before I talk to my kids, it's okay to take a step back and kind of recollect yourself before you talk to your kids about something that you might be emotional about. Okay. So 22,000 adolescents were asked how they were feeling at school. I was a little surprised by this. I don't know if you guys are too bored or stressed, right? Stress could be all sorts of reasons. I'm behind on schoolwork. I couldn't sleep last night. I'm tired. I'm not understanding the topics. I feel behind. Bored, I was a little surprised about as well. But maybe the topic isn't being engaged properly with the students. Okay, what is social and emotional learning? SEL is the process through which children and adults understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, and establish and maintain positive relationships and responsible decisions. I'm big on this topic because I think it's really important to be in tune with our feelings so we can develop better relationships with our peers In my case, it would be my family, my peers, and the students. So I'm very passionate about this topic. I'm sorry, I have kids yelling in the background, and they're going to be here any minute, I feel like. Learning is social and emotional. Growing up for me, it was a lot of this is the subject and this is what you learn. And now it's more, at St. Paul's, it's more of the where are you at mindset. Let's meet you there and then go from there to learn a topic. Okay, what is emotional intelligence? Sorry, you got something beeping now. Real life people. Okay, emotional intelligence.
Do a mood meter check-in, Mr. Patel. Would you?
Yeah, right. Mood meter would be like anxiety, trying to stay calm, dinner. Emotional intelligence is what we do with our emotions. So I have something that I wrote down that I thought was kind of helpful. Emotional intelligence helps us manage our emotions in a positive way to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. And I say this is so important because if we regulate our emotions or we know where we're at, it affects so many different parts of our life, school and all. And then we talk about just mental health, but this is also important with our physical health. We all know that stress, anxiety for adults creates high blood pressure, a lot of stress physiologically. So I think it's important that we regulate this and understand where we're coming from. Okay, Ms. Jones.
All right, so we feel really lucky at St. Paul's to be able to implement the Ruler curriculum. This is year 2 for us at St. Paul's with Ruler. Ruler is a social emotional program or an approach to teaching social emotional skills that was developed at the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. And so about 18 to 20 months ago, several administrators enrolled in a course to learn all about Ruler. And then we spent all of the last academic year rolling the program out with our faculty. Ruler believes strongly that the adults in the school community should be trained first because it then becomes a part of who we are and a part of our natural thought process. And we can more authentically help our students learn and apply the Ruler skills and use the tools and help one another grow in our emotional intelligence. So it's an approach to social and emotional learning. It teaches the skills of emotional intelligence, and it's for our whole community. So our faculty started with it. We're rolling it out to students this year, but the parents and families are also a really important component of this program as well. Ruler knows that in order for this to work well for students, it's nice to have consistency across the school and the home settings. So we appreciate you being here tonight to learn more about how you can help your students apply Ruler outside of the school setting. So Ruler is an acronym, and every letter in the name of the program stands for one of the SEL skills, one of the social emotional skills. So R is the first step, and we want students and we want as individuals to be able to recognize the emotions we're feeling in ourselves, and also to recognize the emotions of those around us so we can read social situations correctly. The second skill we are working with students on is to understand why they're feeling a certain way, to also understand the consequences of their emotions. If they act while they're feeling a certain emotion, what might that lead to? And it also helps us with the empathy piece too, right? Also understanding the causes of someone else's emotions, so we can be a better classmate to them or a better family member to them. The third skill Ruler teaches is to help individuals label the emotion they're feeling and to go beyond those basic vocabulary words about emotions like happy, sad, bored, stressed, tired, to using a more nuanced vocabulary. So you will see with the more advanced mood meters that we have for students, there are a ton of vocabulary words to help students truly pinpoint the exact emotion they're feeling in a moment, because being able to label the emotion you're feeling will help you better understand where your body is and what strategies you can use to get to the emotion you'd like to be feeling in that particular setting or in that scenario. And then the final two skills are being able to express the emotion that you're feeling. We all want to be authentic. We want to be able to share how we truly are feeling. But there are certain ways that are appropriate depending upon whatever context we're in. So we want to teach students those appropriate ways to express their emotions. And then also strategies to regulate those emotions. So maybe I'm feeling overwhelmed. What are some strategies I can use to feel more in control or to feel more productive? So those are the 5 skills we'll be teaching your students this year, and every year as they become older, they will fine tune those skills until they graduate in 8th grade. And speaking,
yeah, and the way that they'll fine tune those skills is using some tools that Ruler has developed to, again, much like the Lisa was just naming around the vocabulary pieces, being able to clearly articulate the things that you're feeling. The Ruler tools are the processes by which they can further fine tune how they're going to regulate and express what they're feeling. So the tools are built in slowly. You start by introducing the mood meter so that students have a way, and we'll show you that here in just a second, to identify what they're feeling. And then you add in the charter, which is an opportunity for a community to create a shared set of feelings that they want to help each other experience throughout the day. Then we move into the meta moment that walks students through how to regulate and respond appropriately. What do you do with the feelings that you're feeling? And then finally, the blueprint is the last piece to be introduced, and it is a conflict resolution tool. It's really similar to other tools you might see in like restorative justice programs or restorative discipline programs. It asks the student to consider both what they've done and why they reacted the way that they did, but also to empathize with how that might have impacted the other person involved in the conflict or the other people involved in the conflict. So in the classroom, the practices are meant to be, just like this slide says, adaptable so that they can be integrated into the curriculum in lots of different ways. A great example of this is, I believe, Ms. Jones, you were telling me just today that from the chapel lesson, the lower school was actually charting Jesus in the chapel lesson on the mood meter. What do you think Jesus was feeling as this, and I believe it was at the story of Lazarus. Is that right, Ms. Jones?
That's right.
And of course, you know, that can happen with other stories that students are working with. Plot the characters in this book. You could talk about how you're responding to something you're learning about in history. There are lots of ways that the mood meter and other conversations about emotions can factor into what they're doing. The tools that Ruler develops are also customizable by age group, which is really helpful. They've got a wealth of information and resources for all different age groups. I'll let Ms. Jones talk a little bit more about what that looks like in the elementary classroom. And then for those of you that are here from the middle school, I'll talk about that next. Go ahead, Ms. Jones.
Okay, so there are, on your screen, you see these 5 main units for Ruler in the elementary classroom. So we are following these in 1st through 5th grade. We started with emotions matter. We want students to understand that all emotions are valid. There are no bad emotions. There are uncomfortable emotions, but it's okay to be honest with yourself and to recognize, understand, and label how you're feeling, whether it's typically an emotion that people view as a good emotion or a bad emotion. That concept does not exist. All emotions are important. So that's what your students learned at the beginning of the school year when their classroom teachers started teaching Ruler lessons. So these are taught by the homeroom teachers in 1st through 5th grade. They then went on to a unit on community safety and climate. And this, like Ms. Hoad said, is where they developed their classroom charter. And this took many lessons, but essentially all of the students within a homeroom got together with their teacher and discussed how they want to feel when they're at school. We know that we can learn better. We're more willing to tackle a hard problem if we feel safe and comfortable and loved and appreciated. And so the students had really good, honest conversations about, this is how I want to feel. The next step after that in the lower school is determining what specific actions can we do to make sure we as individuals feel that way, and also, just as importantly, to make sure we help our classmates feel that emotion. So it really invests the student in creating a good, positive classroom climate. We will continue to focus on these last few units. We're only a couple months into the school year, so we will be talking more about our best self. That's kind of our next big unit when we talk about self and social awareness. And that's where students will learn about what they look like as their best self. How are they feeling? How do they act? And we'll talk about regulating those emotions and how we show empathy, take another person's perspective, and how we repair damage once damage has been done. In addition to these main elementary units, we also can sprinkle in feeling words. And Ruler is so well thought out that they've identified specific feeling words for certain grade levels. So as your student progresses through another grade level, they will learn more complex emotional words to be able to use as they label the emotions they're feeling.
Yeah, and the way that that's rolled out in the middle school and the on the third floor and in older grades really is not very different. What changes is just the complexity of the conversation around emotions. And so we are also working on, first and foremost, how do we build a safe community, and why do we even want to build a safe community? Why does that matter? Why are emotions so important? Because especially at the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, it's not cool to feel things very loudly or very overtly. And so trying to get students to a place where they're comfortable, at the very least naming that they're feeling especially something unpleasant, and then identifying the places that they're comfortable talking about that and how to work through it. So we do spend a lot of time, especially early on in the school year, talking about the fact that, for example, and this is kind of a piece of the conversation that I think is a little bit different than what we might have how it might have been characterized historically, especially in the transition to 6th grade, for example. It is okay to feel stress, right? That is not abnormal. To feel overwhelmed is not abnormal. To feel confused is not abnormal. All of these really unpleasant things that I think historically, sometimes even really good SEL programs would try and say, how do we eliminate those things, or how do we stop them from happening? And really our goal is to help students understand that it's okay to be uncomfortable. This is a safe space to be uncomfortable. We're gonna give you resources to deal with that and executive functioning skills to hopefully feel better about that as the year goes on. Hopefully that equips them to deal with more complex emotions as they have more complex experiences. But again, we're working through very similar content, just kind of at a different age appropriate level. So we talked about the tools, kind of the sequence of the tools. If you'll remember, it was the mood meter, which is about identifying your emotions, the meta moment, which is about envisioning your best self and how do you kind of regulate those emotions, the charter, which is about the community standards and the emotions you want to feel, the meta moment, which is self-regulation, and then finally the blueprint, which is how do you then repair relationships with other people when you haven't been your best self. The mood meter is the first step that we've been really focusing in on this year. And so we wanted to maybe try and do that together and show you right here. You can see a photo, and there have been some others sprinkled throughout the presentation of the mood meter and how we're using it on campus right now. You'll even get a couple of mood meter or a mood meter magnet when you come on, if you come on campus for parent-teacher conferences. But it's a great tool that for the younger students has emojis so that they can plot themselves, and for older students has words. But I'll stop talking about it and turn it over to Mr. Patel, who I think is going to walk us through doing one together right now as all of our dogs and children are barking in the background.
Okay, I am excited about this, you guys. I try and send one out to all staff every Friday. And it's just kind of interesting because we have a charter as a school to see where we're at. So let's see where you guys are at. It is 5:23 on a weekday. School's tomorrow. Work's ending. We're trying to get this done. So this is how you feel in the moment. What are you guys feeling right now? Can you guys see the link on the chat? Let me see if you can click on it. If you can click on it, give me a thumbs up.
I don't think they'll be able to click on it because it's not a hyperlink, but they will be able to copy and paste it into their browser.
Thank you, Miss Hoad. I have technology from like the 30s, so I am working on this. And there, okay, yes, perfect. So the code is and the thing I like about the mood meter is there's so many different feelings on this. One of the things that I do with the staff and the students here is at St. Paul's during the day is, hey, how are you feeling? The classic answer, good. Nope, give me more than that. Okay, what are you exactly feeling? Are you feeling excellent? I have a little anxiety, I'm chill, I'm emotional. What are you guys feeling? So I'll give you a minute or so. Is this working for you guys? Yeah, okay. To see where you're at, and then I can hopefully share my screen to see where we're at. Okay, let's see. Okay, we got one person plotted. I like it, content. And this is anonymous, so nobody's gonna see your answer. The same thing at school and with staff. We just kind of get a general feeling of what the classroom is feeling like, what the middle school is feeling like, and what the staff is feeling like. We got frustrated, aggravated, joyful, relieved, proud, productive, encouraged, content, a lot of yellows, greens, and reds.
Mr. Patel, would you like me to turn off my sharing so you can share it, or do you want to just kind of tell us where everyone is?
No,
or-
no, I'd love for them to see what it looks like. I'm just trying to figure out of how to share. Okay, let's see if I can figure this out. Where, Ms. Jones, could you help me with this?
Yes, so the same place that you found the chat button, you should have a share screen button, hopefully. It will be a little green box with an arrow pointing up, hopefully.
Anything?
I do see a couple people saying that the code isn't working. You might have to type it in directly, 7WCPTJ.
Yeah, you gotta type it in. So it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
That's my fault, and I will fix it right now.
That's okay. Everyone doing okay? Mr. Myler, are you plotting?
I was already agitated, so but it's not because
Okay, it's okay to feel agitated.
this is something you have to get used to, because when we did it for the faculty last year, you're always like, well, what can we do to make them feel better? And then you realize you don't really know what's going on. So it's not necessarily something that you've done. It could be that, you know, the code's not working, or that kind of stuff.
This is a guy nobody's doing. Like, let's go.
No, or like you're just,
Are you able-
or it's your birthday's coming up and you're mad about being older.
Yeah, it is. It's tomorrow, right? That's exciting too, though.
No, it's not.
Mr. Patel, are you able to share your screen now?
I think. What are you guys seeing? Are you guys seeing a lot of weird stuff?
We're seeing it asking you to verify your
All
identity
right.
with the new authenticator app. We're
Okay.
also doubling
Yep.
down on our IT. Yeah, okay, perfect.
You guys seeing all this? Okay, so you guys see the pleasantness and the energy, right? So the low, if you're not very pleasant and you have low energy, you're gonna be kind of in this corner, which I can't remember what it is, but there's just not a lot of energy, not a lot of pleasantness. If you have no pleasantness, and you have a lot of energy, you're gonna be furious. And so we're seeing you guys kind of in the middle, but you guys have stuff going on in your lives too, right? We've got frustrated, aggravated, complacent, content. In my household and my personal space, I like to be right around this area. You guys can figure out where you want to be at as a family, as an individual, and then our class has that. You guys have some joyful, proud. I'd love to see that. Love to see it all though, because they're all emotions that are allowed. Challenge, chill. Ooh, I like that one. Tired, worried, totally get that. You guys are great. I mean, I hope this kind of gets you to feel like, or to understand what the mood meter is and how we use this in the classroom to have the kids figure out where they're at, and then the teachers meet them where their class is as a whole.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Myler made a great point. You know, the mood meter isn't necessarily something to be taken personally, right? If it's 8:30 and you've got a group of 11-year-olds coming in, there's a really good chance a lot of them are in the blue, and that's okay. It's not because social studies is terrible. It's because it's 8:30 on a Wednesday. And so one of the things that can be really helpful is identifying how you're going to kind of help your students move from one quadrant to another, because that is another tool that Ruler provides. How you're going to adjust maybe your morning check-in to either up the energy or give students, if something else has happened in the community that's got a lot of people feeling anxiety, maybe finals just got announced and all of a sudden people are panicking. It's just a great way to kind of name what's happening instead of trying to always guess. So are they upset with me, or did I do, you know what I mean? It's a way to continue facilitating conversation around emotions that aren't always happening. So so, and we do that with the faculty, just like Alankar was saying, the same way we do it with students. So
again, I think it's important, if we can do this daily, we can figure out where students are at. What if it's fall break and they're coming back? What are they feeling? Maybe they're energized, right? Let's go with that energy and maybe try a lesson plan a different way. I'm not a teacher, so I don't know how that works, but I think you guys get an idea of how this is for us. I think it's important as a family unit too. You guys had a little charter in your house, maybe, and you're not there. How do you get there? How do you help your classmates get back to it? That's what I love about the mood meter and Ruler. It's kind of like this snapshot of what everyone's feeling at this moment.
Excellent.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and bring us back. I might need you, maybe not. Let's see if I can jump back to our slides. Are y'all able to see Let's Try Mood Meter together? Is that what people are seeing? No, Mr. Patel, I might need you to stop sharing.
Oh.
There should be a red button where you can just press stop share.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We can see it, FYI.
Oh, perfect. You can see Let's Try Mood Meter together.
Yep.
Beautiful. All right.
It's always rude to tell the counselor to stop sharing.
Right. That shouldn't mean, that's the opposite of what we're working on, right? So, Mr. Patel was already naming a couple of great ways to work this into kind of your household routine if you're, interested in doing that. And of course, we hope you are, because I think this partnership really helps reinforce the importance of sharing, talking about emotions, making them a part of our vernacular. So a couple of things that you can do at home that are really simple. Just pay attention to your emotions. Using some of the language that we're using. It's been wild, even in our house with my son is in kindergarten, asking if you're feeling pleasant or unpleasant, because sometimes he's not always feeling mad or sad. He just knows he doesn't feel great, and so sometimes offering that spectrum early and giving them a chance to identify with it is helpful. It kind of gives license to name what's happening, which is again what the second bullet point is about. Feel your feelings and name them. And I think as parents, I bet they would love to have you model that, and honestly, I'm feeling really frustrated right now because, the morning is quickly getting away from us. So how can I take a minute so that we can all get out the door and still be friends once we get in the car, Another piece that is really important, taking our students and our kids feeling seriously, listening and asking questions to get to the cause. And this is where some of that vocabulary building becomes really important. When a student gets in the car and says today was terrible, asking things like, well, what was it what was the thing that happened, and were you mad about it, or was it maybe more like embarrassed or defensive? And sometimes, the student response might be, huh? Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? But it's a great chance to talk about the difference between those emotions and offer examples from your own life, which goes a long way. Choosing different responses can really be helpful too. The difference between feeling something and acting on it, which is a huge part of the meta moment. And while we haven't moved as far in this tool with students, kind of identifying your best self. That's the step that we're on currently. That can be a great thing to talk about as a family. I don't want to be a person that is, yelling to get everybody out the door or something like that. So what do we do? What do I do to make that easier? And what do you do to help me? And then of course, modeling effective strategies. So different things work for different people. You might already, especially since you've come through the ECC perhaps and learned about, conscious discipline and some of the tools that they're using there with sunshine circles and things like that. You might already have a whole toolbox of ways that you work on calming down with your kiddo. Remembering that there's more than one way to look at a situation. This can be really great with movies. Asking your kiddo to put themselves in the perspective of the villain, which is really hard, right? We're so used to thinking about a villain as a one-dimensional character, but and Disney, I think, has kind of gotten into that recently, like with the backstories of some of their really famous villains like Maleficent and things like that. But asking maybe what they might have been thinking or why they are the way they are is a really great opportunity for students to take on perspective taking and empathizing. And then, of course, staying connected, taking time each day to just reconnect, whether that's serious conversations about how the day was or just playing together, reading together. All of those pieces are really great ways to practice what we're doing at school. And this is a great quote, I think, to kind of wrap up on. What we're doing here, a really important part of this work is really just building relationships. And we do that by caring deeply for each other, really respecting each other's dignity, which is essential to our Episcopal identity as well. And so we want to do that here at school and help our students do that out in the world and at home with you. And Ruler has been a really great program for fostering that. So thank you for coming, for spending your time this evening, even though there's a million things going on. We will open the floor up for questions. You can put them in the chat, or you can just raise your hand. I'll stop sharing so we can see each other. And remember, there is a recording of this available, so if you want to go back and watch it or share it with someone else.
While we're waiting on some questions to come in, I put it in the chat a little prematurely, so sorry about that. That was an accident, but we did want to give you access to a couple of these tools. Like Lucy mentioned, at parent-teacher conferences, you will get a magnet of the mood meter. So if you have a younger child in the lower grades, ECC grades, it will be an emoji magnet. If they're older, they'll get a word mood meter magnet, but we want you to be able to have that on your refrigerator or someplace in your home so students can check in on the mood meter if they'd like to at home, and you guys can have a family discussion about that. As we progress farther into the school year, your students will become more familiar with these additional tools. So the meta moment is the one about how do we see our best self in this particular situation. And so the link that I shared there is kind of a step-by-step how to use the meta moment to help you respond in a situation that might be challenging, and naturally you might not bring your best self to it, but how can you kind of go through that step-by-step and do bring your best self. And then the second, I think it's actually on top, but the blueprint questions is the tool that Lucy was talking about that you can use if maybe unintentionally, maybe intentionally harm has been done and someone's feelings have been hurt, or something has come up that has caused a conflict. It's a tool that you can use to kind of discuss what happened, what were the intentions, how did we respond to that, how could that have impacted the other person. So that would be a great tool to use with siblings. We will use that with students later throughout the year once we've introduced it more to them. So we just wanted you to have a copy of those and to know those are coming as we get further into the school year. So I will go ahead.
I was going to say, you already answered our first question. We had a question that was asking about seeing suggestions eventually on guidelines for resolving conflict when emotions are flooded. And the meta moment and the blueprint are a great starting point for that. I don't know that, like, we probably would not sit down and actually fill out the physical blueprint at our house. We probably wouldn't have worksheets available like we would at school. But, in kindergarten or in the ECC, they do a thing called a balloon breath. I mean, a lot of different breathing techniques, but when they're trying to calm down, and that's, an essential part of the meta moment is first pausing. What is my body doing? How am I responding to this emotion? So like I can feel my heart racing maybe, or I can feel myself getting really hot, or I can feel my like tears coming. I can feel that I'm starting to cry, right? What's happening? I feel that happening. And I'll be honest, some of this stuff is what you unpack afterwards, but in the moment, you know, routine and doing it over and over again, that pattern of checking in with yourself is what the meta moment walks you through. And then visualizing, how do I want to react? Like, what's the outcome I want here? Which again, that's a higher level skill that they have to work towards. You kind of have a lot of meltdowns as you're coaching that up. And then the blueprint has the questions that walk through, you know, if damage has been done, what happened? How did you feel? How do you think that made the other person feel? And is there any way? And there is a way. How do we fix it? What do we do now? Does that mean, you know, is it just an apology? Is it, you know, offering to use your allowance to buy another of the thing that got broken? Or, you know, there are lots of different options there depending on your household. But definitely check out those resources. Yeah, Hillary.
Hi, good evening. Thank you guys so much. This is really, really helpful. I know in our discussion, you guys talked about the words and language and how at certain ages we're identifying the feelings. Would it be possible to share, like just briefly looking at the mood meter, right? There's so many. So for June in first grade, it would be helpful to know maybe some of those emotions or words that we want to try to work on at home and labeling similar to what's happening in the classroom. Obviously, I know when we can have that synergy between home and classroom, that really helps, I think, her really register and then us learn with her at the same time.
Absolutely. So we are going to send you ruler resources all throughout the school year. So you will
Okay.
get everything you want and then some, I think.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Nope. And I should say, Ruler has so many lessons for teachers. It is a really well-designed program and curriculum. And as we kind of prepared for it this school year, we told teachers, don't go into this expecting to teach every Ruler lesson. So teachers will not teach everything this year, but they will teach the 5 main units and those lessons. And then every year they will get more and more in depth and get more feeling words as well. So this will be a process. They'll have a good solid foundation this year, and we will just continue to build upon it each year after that.
And obviously, just like we did last year with the adults, this is all about really kind of the adults too, really, and how we interact and how we model things. And so I think it's super important. That's why we want to do things like this meeting and get these things out to parents so we can all be on the same page. Because, you know, there's a reason we spend a whole year with the adults talking about our emotions, you know, first. So, and some of us still need some more lessons in year 2.
I was going to say, Hillary, is June in first grade?
Yes, yes.
So this is, so just for example, because some of that too is relative to kids have all different sorts of understandings of emotions depending on, you know, conversations they're having at home and things like that. But I know that I think first grade, it's words like lonely, hurt, patient, and you might be able to go deeper with your, you know, with June or your kiddo, like somebody might be able to go deeper with that, or they might not be able to go as deep. So some of that too, honestly, you could probably tailor at home, just depending on books you were reading and things like that.
Okay, that's great. Kind of follow her lead a little bit maybe, and we'll just see how this evolves. And okay, very good. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions? Y'all don't have to be so polite. You can just unmute yourself and jump in there. And if you're afraid to be the first one to leave, someone's just going to have to do it too. So.
Yeah, you have our full permission to go ahead and sign off if you're, it was so lovely to see you, and this recording will be available to you. Thanks for the thanks.
If you want to wait and stick around and ask a question when there's not so many people here, you can do that too.
I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording for this evening.